Hey, welcome back. Now, you all know I like to stay in my lane, talk about crypto and finance, but I needed to call this out because we're all dependent on the US dollar for dominance. Now, let's talk about the man who's been quietly working in the shadows for over a decade just to weaken the US dollar, Mark Carney. But this time, I want you to look past the politician now and follow the money. This guy didn't just talk about replacing the dollar for over a decade. He's actually built the infrastructure to do it. While he was governor at the Bank of England, Carney actively helped China internalize the renminbi in London. He opened the doors for the Chinese banks and gave them direct access for the Western financial markets. Now, that wasn't leadership, that was facilitation. Watch this clip where he openly talks about building the new world order with China.
Mine is the first visit of a Canadian Prime Minister to China in nearly a decade. The world has changed much since that last visit, and I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Now, here's where this gets really interesting. So, Carney became the chairman of Brookfield Asset Management, one of the world's largest alternative asset managers. Brookfield has poured billions into China in the infrastructure, real estate, energy, many more projects, all tied to the Chinese state. Now, while Carney was pushing the climate policy on the world stage for a decade, his firm was stacking assets in the very country that he was elevating. So watch this, where he helped open the door for Chinese state power right into the Western banks and the financial systems.
So in 2013, the Bank of England partnered with the People's Bank of China and created a swap line between one another worth 32 billion US dollars at the time. Now, Carney doesn't come in at this point. He came shortly after that. This was signed by the previous governor of the Bank of England. So Mark Carney comes in and looks at this swap and basically says, yeah, this is great. Let's help push this to a global market and make the renminbi even more respectable on the world stage. Carney helped sell China's currency going global as if this was some really normal, great idea. Not a risk, not a warning sign, not, hey, you know what? Maybe helping the Chinese Communist Party build more financial power and influence is probably something we should slow down and, I don't know, think about. No, he called it a global good. I will repeat, he called it a global good. But why did he do this, you might be asking? And what exactly does this mean? Well, it meant giving China's currency way more legitimacy than it previously had. It meant communist-tied Chinese banks could move deeper into the Western banking system. In a nutshell, if China can get more RMB into Western markets and Western banking, Chinese banks could settle more deals in RMB and not have to rely on the American dollar. And if London, Carney, makes this look normal, we begin to normalize Chinese influence at this point through the financing world. So they have less exposure to US pressure, less risk on sanctions, should they come, less need to run every major project that they had through Washington, which was basically a failsafe. That's really why this mattered.
This is the green energy scam in plain sight. The net zero agenda that Carney champions isn't about the environment, it's about a wealth transfer mechanism. Trillions of dollars are being forced out of traditional projects into green energy scams. And many ultimately benefit the same global players and indirectly, China's supply chain. There you go. It's a financial engineering disguised as virtue. The WEF ties it all together. They didn't just influence governments, they installed their people. Canada, Britain, Australia, and a bunch more. Same playbook. Now put your leaders in the same place, push the same policies, and slowly erode America's financial dominance. Canada was always the prize. Massive oil, critical minerals, uranium, and the world's freshest water. Control Canada and control the resource for the next century's needs. That's why Mark Carney's positioning is so dangerous here. Watch this, where he's getting standing ovations in Canada with the Liberals for pushing the anti-American agenda hard, telling Canadians the era of relying on the United States was over.
The days of our military sending 70 cents of every dollars to the United States are over.
But look where he stands now.
As the United States approaches its 250th birthday, happy birthday, as the most in advance, but it approaches this moment as the most dynamic, resilient, and inventive country the world has ever seen, as a country whose founding values of liberty, democracy, justice, and openness should continue to serve as guides to its future and the future of the world. That future should include a new partnership with Canada, a true partnership that reimagines cooperation in specific sectors that are deeply challenged by global competition, a partnership with a different Canada, a stronger Canada, a more confident Canada, a country that is applying the lessons from past crises, a country unleashing its enormous potential, a country aggressively translating our belief in openness into dozens of new partnerships, a country that's predictable, reliable, and principled in a world that's anything but.
Suddenly, the tone is completely flipped. He's now talking about partnerships and cooperation with the U.S. So ask yourself, why the flip? Because their plan is cracking. The empire that they tried to build to replace the dollar is crumbling in front of them. And now they're scrambling. Look where he says that they can't rely on America no more, while the majority of his assets and Brookfield's are where? The United States.
I feel that strength. I feel that strength in this room. I feel that strength. I feel that strength. As Diana mentioned, we feel that strength across this great country. At this decisive moment, Canadians are demonstrating just how strong we are. You know, it started quietly. People choosing a wine from the Okanagan over one from California. Anyone had any bourbon recently? No, I think so, no. Sorry. A family planning a vacation to Prince Edward Island instead of booking flights to Florida. Canadians are rediscovering our country. The Cabot Trail in October. The Columbia Icefield in June. The Festival International de Jazz à Montréal.
The Montreal International Jazz Festival in July.
The prairies at harvest where the sky goes on forever. You know, Canada's tourism sector had a record-breaking summer, 50,000 more train rides, 13% more visits to our national parks, 15% more visits to our national museums. Small individual acts of solidarity, but repeated millions of times. And together, they make a statement. We are the masters of our destiny.
At the same time that he told Canadians to leave and not look back. This isn't Canadian politics. This is a coordinated global shift for power away from the United States dollar dominance, using climate policy, central banks, and massive asset managers like Brookfield as the tools to do it. That's why what's happening in crypto matters. When the reserve currency is under attack, decentralized money becomes a national security. The old system is showing its cracks in real time. So please, I want to hear from you in the comments which part of this story surprised you and what else can you add to the story.